the business or good for their duties or department. So that's what
Mhm.
inclusion is to me.
So if there isn't inclusion, then people are going to keep things to themselves. They're not going to offer up that idea or new process thought or whatever it is, which could really have a huge impact on your business.
Yeah, and think about it like this too. We have people in our systems, in our organizations, and we're training them. They're working there. And how unfortunate, I see a lot of times people leaving, innovative people, just because they're not being heard or taken seriously, if we want to go to the simpler terms. And so employers are losing out on amazing individuals. And the other thing about it is that usually senior leadership or the owner presidents really don't know what's really going on when it comes to that. So it's really up to us, no matter your leadership title, no matter what leader you are, leader of a team, leader of yourself, that we can do to provide that inclusive culture, but also have the courage to stand up and talk about it when others aren't.
Yeah, and I love that. That's one thing. We're definitely on the same page that leaders don't have to be the C-suite. That's not what we're talking about when we're talking about leaders. And by the way, we have a ton of people saying hello from all sorts of places. India,
Hi, everyone.
Maryland. Yeah, hi, everyone. And do post questions and comments, and we'll make sure that Audrey has the ability to answer them. So do post questions along the way. So I love your description. So tell me, what are some of the ways that a leader, be it, someone without a title or someone with a leadership title, how can they create inclusive leadership?
Well, thank you. What I found out is that just through all my studies and consulting with other leaders and corporations, that it seems like three keys stick out when it comes to that inclusiveness, that inclusive leadership. The first one, in no particular order, but this one is very important, is as individuals, we have to have the courage. Simple term, courage. We have to be mindful of ourselves. We have to be mindful of other people, employees, and be mindful of them in a way of interactions, how we interact, how others interact with people. So having that courage, having the courage to challenge mindsets and practices that stifle diversity. And that even includes, like me, myself, when I'm thinking about my coworkers or peers, am I really being mindful that they, even though they're so different, they can really include great information for the team? It's about knowing that as in leadership, even as a person, that I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the knowledge. So with that being said, if it ever comes up, someone feels like they're being underrepresented, or, hey, Audrey, I feel like no one's listening to me. Am I really being mindful of that? And understanding that I don't have all the answers. So really be open and have that active listening skill really amplified to hear out what they're saying. And the next, it's about providing honest feedback that we don't know when we're talking about courage. And this is really important. But courage really, at the end of the day, is about being an advocate. For instance, if I'm in a meeting and I have a teammate who really don't speak up, maybe they're afraid or whatever. Me being a team member, I can easily say in a meeting, "Hey, Ronnie has some great ideas. We talked about it over lunch. Ronnie, what did you say? Do you mind if I kind of communicate what you said?" So really being an advocate in any type of way where you see that representation is not there. And that's even from individuals. So that's very important. Also having that empathy to understand other people's feelings at times and sometimes that understanding may be why they're upset with me. Well, I can see why you're upset with me or with a coworker, whoever, and really trying to understand why. Seek the understanding even when we don't, and understanding when empathy sometimes, and trying to walk a mile in their shoes, but understand that sometimes we may not get it all, but it's up to us to be the ones to amplify it and to have that empathy, because we have not. And so a lot of times when we're talking about inclusion, we usually only have empathy. When we're not inclusive, we become exclusive. And we only have empathy for those who are who we have walked directly in their shoes.
Right.
Who we know, who we may have them. So it's about getting to know other differences and accepting it, and not only accepting it, embracing it, and a sense of belonging. And that just starts with conversation. Hey, you have something to say. And the next is we got to have resilience, because when we're talking about inclusion and what that entails, no matter what it is, it's about springing back from adversity. So if you are a level manager, if you are someone who got into it with a coworker, maybe you're senior manager, senior leadership, it's about knowing failure is a part of what we're going to do. Adversity is part of business. It's a part of leadership. It is a part of life. So it's being resilient enough to overcome that adversity, not ignore it, but know that it's there, and really get in tune to that, embrace it, so that you can, again, create that inclusion atmosphere. But again, it first starts with courage. We got to have that. So yeah.
I love everything you just said. A couple of things that really stood out to me. First of all, the last thing you just said about resilience in inclusivity, and I've not heard those two things connected before. And by the way, I see some questions. We'll get to your questions, I promise. Sure. It's for someone, especially for someone who's privileged. For example, if I have white privilege, there is resilience for me to that I need to have if I have a hiccup or a miscommunication.
Correct. Yes.
You hurt my feelings because you said this. Can we talk about it? I have to be courageous enough to be open-minded, and then I have to be resilient to bounce back from that and continue moving forward in a positive way with that person. And that's never occurred to me before. So thank you for that light bulb moment.
Yeah, it's about being human. Like some of the things coming out, we're like, what? Huh? I don't like that. I don't think I like it. And that's okay for you to have that feeling. It's okay for that to happen, because we're all growing from this. And so on both easy, if me being Black, you being white, I need to have the patience as well for that, and vice versa. So it's about working together to know that we may not identify with the same concept and things, but at the end of the day, we were hired to do a job, and we're hired to get those results. So how can we overcome this, connect to get to the results that we need? And the only way we can do that is when we have that courage, that empathy, and resilience to push through anything that comes.
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting like teary-eyed. I love it. That was awesome. That was awesome. I had a thought and I lost it. One thing too, I wanted to say is I was thinking about that. We do this exercise in our training programs where we ask people how do they want to be treated at work.
Yes.
And it's a really great way to bring people together, because no matter who you are, your age, your race, your sexual orientation, it turns out we all want to be respected.
There you go.
Have good relationships at work. And so it's a great way to kind of say, okay, well, we all agree. Now we got to figure out, what does respect look like for us, and where can we meet in the middle there? And we're all there to do a job and to build relationships.
Very important. Thank you. Yes.
So here's a question. How do you avoid micromanaging? I'm afraid I'll end up doing it when I'm asking for status, also while making sure I'm on top of where things are. So that's from Melvin.
Thank you, Melvin. As far as micromanaging, and we're talking about our teams and making sure that you're on top, the most successful way that worked for me is to individually ask my team, what does inclusion look like to them? And so once I get what does inclusion look like to them, because usually it's a topic, I'm being kind of general here, but it may be in inclusion as far as in who delivers who does projects, and someone may feel they're not included in that, or a team may feel, or an individual. It's first important to gather those thoughts and just put it on a board. What I usually do is put it on a board. So most of the team believes inclusion. What they feel we're not inclusive is this. And then ask them question, what is inclusion to them, so that we all have the same definition, and start having that dialogue. I always say when we want to implement things like inclusion, belonging, diversity, it needs to be actually a project, not a meeting. It's a project with people having duties in that, with people, your team, allowing them to get immersed in what that looks like. Because again, inclusion is so different for every group. It's so general. So it would be first to understand what inclusion means to your team, what inclusion means to you, what inclusion means all together connected, and then write down those things that you all as a team would like to see, and then put those as projects. So letting them know, because it's almost like if I was a captain of a ship, as we all know, you can't turn a ship quickly or it's going to break.
Yeah.
It's going to break. And I think that's why sometimes we're unsuccessful with this, is that we want to, because it's kind of uncomfortable and it does involve a little adversity, when we want to speed through it. Like, well, okay, let's do this. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's just get our heads down and make it happen. Well, let's just be diverse. Okay, we're done.
Yeah, we're done. We got everybody in place. We talked about inclusion. Bam. Got it. It is a project. So for that, whoever asked that, I think you said Melvin, ensure that when you're thinking about your inclusion, as far as what you're going to do, that you put it as you would in project management and assign assignments. It may be, hey, Kelly, since we're doing this inclusion project, what I need for you to do is look into other companies who got it right, who's done it right. What are some of their best practices? Things like that. So you can have your team look up best practices, videos, anything that will help out the team.
So I'm curious about your consulting business, being a consultant myself. When clients reach out to you for help in this area, is it because something happened? They feel pressure? Is it that the leader's just on top of it and recognizes that we need to have these conversations? I'm curious where the leaders are at with their mindsets when you're talking with them.
When I'm talking to them, the leadership, some feel it's a push, like this is what I have to do now. And when you feel like that, that's when it's going to be harder for you to implement things, because it's a push. It's something, let's go. We got to show it.
Yeah.
But it's something like any culture change, even any internal change, like we have internal changes for ourselves, it takes time.
Yeah.
The mindset is the mind is something that is, as we know, can take a life of its own.
Yeah.
So we have to be patient with people and ourselves. And then after that, most of the time I have people calling in because they already have issues, unfortunately. And that's the thing I've noticed with DEI, most of what I'm doing, it's the cleanup. But the thing is, we don't have to clean up.
Yeah.
We can do it before that happens. And I advise any team, do it now before it happens. Have a plan and process. And what I mean by a plan is in the very fabric of your policies and procedures, does it include things that incite inclusiveness and belonging? Policies, procedures, and our practices. And that may include a policy about how we treat each other. A lot of organizations have policies about that, and they have acronyms like CARES or PANDA. I've heard so many, and it stands for things that are inclusive. And so, and it's about sticking that on the wall somewhere, and that it's always there, and that it's always in front. So anytime I have any policies, that I'm looking into that. For instance, if a manager comes to me and say that they have a person who's tardy, I'm a manager, and they want to let them go, they want to fire them. Well, let's look at it and let's see their clock in and clocks out, but let's look at everyone's clock in and clock out to make sure, right?
Yeah.
And if I see those discrepancies in clock in, clock out, this may not be the time to terminate this person. It may be a time for us to look at the practices of who we hold accountable to that.
So inclusivity is this process of looking at individuals to make sure each individual feels included, but then in the context of the group. And I don't know, you're giving me lots of light bulb moments today.
Yeah, correct. It starts in the interview when we're talking about that. Is your team members part of interviews? Are they part of changes? These type of things makes for inclusion, what helps out, which is the catalyst, not helps out with the diversity and that being equitable. Are we really being equitable? Things of that nature. It has to be in the very fabric. And that's what I teach to clients in things that let's look over practices. Let's look at how you decide what to launch. Mm-hmm. Who's included. Mm-hmm. And as we all know, we can't include everyone depending on the project, but having in mind that is this a project where I can have one of my people to be in it. Mm-hmm. Always having that, guys, in the back of your mind. Inclusion, having the courage, having the empathy and the resilience to know that with this person being different, if I bring them in, they may do things not adverse, but counter to what we believe, and to be able to speak to that.
Yeah. Here, I have a question that my white fragility is there, but I'm going to ask it anyways. How do I ask this? So there's there's all this talk about someone like me. I need to educate myself, of course. I can't rely on people of color to educate me about things. But then there's instances like what you just described, where let's say I'm going to release some new thing and I go to my people of color in my office to ask them what their thoughts are. Aren't I doing the very thing that I'm not supposed to be doing because I'm asking them to educate me? But I guess, and that's where that.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? And that's where the fragility comes from. It's like, well, there's a lot to that phrase, but just that, I want to ask, but I don't know if I should. Am I going to get dinged? Is Audrey going to think that I'm asking her to educate me when I should be educating myself? Talk me through that.
So education, as far as when it comes to diversity and me having a team and having that, I'm about to say something that you're like, huh?
Please say it. Let's do it.
Just do it. Have the courage.
Okay.
Do it. And because you're going to do it with sincerity. And then if you hear those things like, oh, we're just, let them know this is the process. This is why. Is there any reason why you feel we can't do this, or do we need to put something in? And let them know, because the business, we have a deadline. The deadline is whatever it is. And we got to get this in, guys. So what can we do to get the results we need for our team to be successful at the end of the day? These are the things. I'm listening to you, but there may be times when I'm going to supersede over what you said just because of the position I'm in. Not to say I know anything better, but because of you I'm on, in that I'm managing this part, or this is my part. But we're all together in it. It's about having discussions about why. I just had a discussion with my team earlier about training, and they're like, well, why do we have to have training again when we've been training for 3 years?
Yeah.
And we know it. I'm like, because now we have hard stops. We have things we have to do as far as the processing of this operations. So it's different. And so really the why is what I'm trying to say. Have courage in your why. If you know that you're inclusive, that you're doing what you can just to be a great human being, forget all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Tell them your why and move forward. Go through that adversity, because that's the only way. Because some people, I'm going to be honest, no matter if you're white, black, whatever, they just won't understand it.
Right. I appreciate that. And I guess I'm ultimately hearing you say it's how you ask and having that relationship. And if you're a decent human, then somebody wouldn't mind you coming to them with that, versus if you come across as not a decent human most of the time, and then you ask those questions, it's not gonna work.
Correct. Because at the end of the day, we all want to be treated. Catherine, you said it best. We all want the basic things. So I believe when we talk about inclusion, it's back to basics.
Yeah.
Being a good human being, and what I would want if I was in that position, I would want the whys and all these things. So that part, let's just treat each other like that.
Yeah, let's treat each other as humans. That's a great plan. And then you and I would be out of the job. Oh man. And it does, I'm in a similar position. I'm sort of adjacent to, we talk about respectful, thriving workplaces, and I'm certainly not a DEI expert, but we're doing some similar things. And it is a shame that organizations often come to us when there's a problem, as
because you know why? Because we move almost not as fast, but we're moving fast, just like technology.
Yeah.
In this day and age, it's a different business model. It's go, 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 go. It's not slow. It's not slowing down. On top of we need employees. We need team members. I need team members just to be my member to help me out. So we're dealing with a lot of things. Slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down just a little. Slow down so you can speed up. I think that's a book, right?
I don't know. It might be.
It is. It is. I can't think of the name right now, but it is a book about how you slow down so you can speed up for success.
Yeah, I love that. So if let's say I'm a receptionist in a company, so I'm at the, obviously the lower level, how can I, other than being trying to be a good human and have courage and empathy in these things that you're talking about, do you have any tips for people to sort of influence the culture beyond their own actions as a person? Can they, do you have any tips for talking to leadership about this, or, getting them to pay attention?
Yes. So just to let you know, I started out as a worker at Wendy's.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When I got into professional career back in 2002, I was on the call center floor. I was taking calls. So this build up. So I've been in that position.
Yeah.
And the best way is to have the courage to challenge mindsets that stifle diversity. Meaning, if I'm a receptionist and I overhear something or a meeting and I'm looking at the meeting roster, and I know certain people, I can say something like, hey, I'm looking at the meeting roster. I just want to make sure that you thought about everyone who needs to be on here. Audrey, I'm seeing she's not on here, making sure that I don't need to send this to her. Stuff like that. Or hey, I saw this article about belonging, and I wanted to know, how does our company create that sense of belonging? Mm-hmm. So holding managers accountable, like do we have anything like that? If not, because I feel that would be good for us. So just having a conversations, it's not about being adversarial with them. It's just, hey, I noticed, look, I have some articles. Maybe this is something that I can send out. Would you like me to send this out to the team? So no matter your position, we all have the authority to drive inclusion.
Yeah, I love that. And I think someone's question is, what's the slow down book? Emily's asking that. I think you said it. Speed up so you can slow down. That's
it is a book. It is a book. Look at me. I'm going to Google. I'm so sorry.
No worries. While you're doing that, sure. I'll just say, I think some of us have come across that adversarial position where it's like, you should send this article out, or hey, Audrey's not on this list and you better get her on there. And it comes across as, and then people get like, I don't want to do inclusivity, because it does feel even more uncomfortable. So I like what you're saying about, you can influence things, but you got to come across or do it in a way that's like, hey, should we add Audrey? I know she's not on here and she's X, Y, and Z.
Yes, and it may be a point where you just have to speak up and let them know why you need to be in that meeting. I have to do that. Yeah. Last time it's being very intentional. Yeah. When we're talking about inclusion, it's also good for us to be intentional, meaning that it's a purpose to what I'm saying. If I'm saying that I believe there's no diversity, my purpose is not just to complain. My purpose is we need diversity for the innovative thought, and also to help with a sense of belonging for all. And also, representation matters. Yeah. It really does. And so really having those kind of discussions. So the name of the book is Slow Down to Speed Up. That's the name. Lead, Succeed, and Thrive in a 24/7 World. And it's by Liz Bywater, Lizbywater. Slow Down to Speed Up, Lead, Succeed, and Thrive in a 24/7 World.
I love it. Thank you, Audrey, for tracking that down. So everybody order the book.
I know. Liz, you're gonna get some orders. I haven't met you, but I love the book.
Liz, send us a thank you.
Right.
So Audrey, where can people get a hold of you?
So right now, I do have a website that's being under construction, but I'm going to give it to you. It'll be up and running by tomorrow again. So there's two ways. It is amplifysteam.com. So that's AMPLIFLY team.com. It'll be up and running tomorrow. And there you can look over some of the initiatives that I'm starting. You can also set up a meeting with me. So if you have any questions about DEI or things, I do have it where you can pick my calendar. Right now I'm running a special. So, or you know what? Go to my LinkedIn page
LinkedIn, yes.
And send me questions, because most of the time I'm working from LinkedIn. So send me whatever you need. I am here to help. You don't have to go to that page. Go to LinkedIn. Just
go
click
to
on it.
LinkedIn. Yeah, just
Yes,
click on her name here
yeah.
in this page. Yeah. Well, this was super fun. I really appreciated chatting with you and love all the positive energy that's coming through from you. And I know our paths will continue to cross. So thank you so much for the education today. It was a pleasure to chat with you. And you're getting lots of thank yous coming through.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for logging in. Appreciate everything. I am here. Yes.